Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Jashana here to talk about a friggin' book. Recently, I received this e-arc from NetGalley for Master of Djinn by Djeli Clark, as you can tell from the title. Is this mic? I don't know what is motherfucking happening here. This mic keeps flopping all over the damn place. Bitch, stay there. Why are we doing this right now? You know, just what? For what reason? So, Master of Djinn is, I think, Djeli Clark's first full-length novel, and the books leading up to it, or stories leading up to it, are A Dead Djinn in Cairo, #1, which is a short story, literally like 40-some pages, and then Haunting of Tramcar 015, which is a short novella. And in Dead Djinn in Cairo, we get introduced to Fatma and Siti. And then in Haunting of Tramcar 015, we get introduced to Hamed, and I kept calling him Hamad, I think, in my last video where I was talking about Haunting of Tramcar 015, but it's definitely Hamed, but there's an E, not an A. I would think that's how it's pronounced. And we are also introduced to his partner, Ansi, who is a new recruit. And then in Master of Djinn, we are following Fatma for the most part. I mean, we're definitely following her, not for the most part, we are. But we do also see Siti, and we see Hamed and Ansi, as well as some other characters who we saw previously in the shorter works. So this is adult fantasy, and it is historical, alternative history fantasy. We are in the early 1900s. In Master of Djinn, it is 1912, and we are in Cairo. And in this world, magic is a thing. Supernatural creatures, beings are a thing. There are djinn, there are creatures who claim to be angels, but it is disputed if they really are or not, and various other things. There's a lot of Egyptian mythology involved as well, and we touch on a lot of themes here. Religion, faith in general, colorism, certainly, racism, certainly, colonialism, definitely. In this world, the Egyptians basically, with the release of the djinn and magic into the world many years prior to this, they were able to essentially keep their independence and beat back the British. There's still a lot of British influence in Egypt and in Cairo, but they were not colonized. Fatma is the youngest woman working for the ministry, which the full title, I could never remember. The Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities. So they are this organization that kind of monitors, they do cases involving all of this magic and mythological stuff and supernatural entities. We get introduced to Fatma's partner, a new partner, a rookie named Hadia, and she's very earnest and very excited to be part of the ministry and to be basically partnered up with Fatma, who's renowned for all her cases that she solved. So we have a mass murderer on the loose who is claiming to be Al-Jahiz returned, and that is the person who opened up the portal, opened up the other realm for Djinn and other entities to come into our world. So he's kind of the father of magic and so on. And this person claiming to be him starts wreaking havoc on Cairo. So Fatma and her new partner, Hadia, get put on the case and have to solve this. So for characters, I definitely enjoyed Fatma, following her again. I really liked her from Dead Djinn in Cairo, but it was so short. So you just got like a little taste of her. So I was very excited when I saw that Master of Djinn was following her specifically. And we get a sapphic romance in this as well with her and Siti. Siti is pretty prominent in this, and I really enjoyed her character development as well. And it was interesting, the dynamic with Fatma and Hadia, because Fatma was very resentful of having a partner thrust upon her, but she pretty quickly realizes that she's being kind of awful to Hadia, and as one of the only other women in this ministry, that she should be a little bit more welcoming. She remembers what it was like for her to be the only woman around and getting treated differently, and then she's like, I'm kind of treating her this way, and I should be more welcoming to her. And it was really cool seeing that dynamic kind of growing. As per usual for me, Clark just writes characters really well. I definitely get invested in the characters and getting to know more about them and their relationships, their dynamics between each other. Thoroughly enjoy all of that. For world building and atmosphere, I definitely love this world. I mean, I obviously had been introduced to it with the novella and the short story, which I definitely recommend reading those before reading Master of Djinn, because you get introduced to the characters and you get some backstory that you can read Master of Djinn without that. They do talk about it, but they're short. Why not? Is kind of how I feel. There's a lot of steampunk stuff happening in this world, which I enjoy. I like a little bit of steampunk here and there. And in this world, Cairo is basically an epicenter of modernity. That's a word, right? Modern shit. And of magic and supernatural beings. And I did mention there is a fair amount of Egyptian mythology as well, and just general North African cultures, and all of that was really cool to see kind of worked into this world. I always am a fan of that. So for the writing style and kind of the authorial voice here, I think this is the biggest thing that made me not be madly in love with this book. Well, maybe the second biggest thing. We'll get to the biggest thing in a second. But this world, even in Dead Djinn in Cairo and Haunting of Tramcar 015, it's very light. It's very fun and light, and there are things that happen in the book that are more serious, I guess, but it's not dark. It's not, grim and gory necessarily. I mean, there's like someone gets their head cut off. But I don't know, just the general vibe of this world and of the writing style with these stories is very light and bright for me personally. We touch on themes that are serious, but I don't know, the book itself doesn't feel serious. I don't know if that makes sense, but you probably know what I mean if you're an avid reader. And I think it wasn't necessarily exactly what I wanted out of the book. I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it, or I was expecting something different, perhaps. So the biggest thing that I think was a setback for me is the pacing and the plot, the length of the book. I felt like it could have been a bit shorter. I do have to admit, I was reading this book. I started it right before closing on my home. I was very distracted, so I was reading it pretty slowly. But it also, every time I picked it up, it just felt slow. I wasn't able to read a lot in one sitting. I could read a chapter before being like, I need a break. And even once I got moved into my house and everything and more settled, and I was able to actually sit down and read, because I didn't for probably about a week and a half, I wasn't getting really hooked into the story. I was invested in the characters, but I was finding it hard to be really invested in the story itself and how it was all playing out. Also, it's a whole detective, mystery thing going on, so a whodunit is happening here, obviously. And I was able to figure it out about 45% of the way through, and I don't think you were supposed to, and I don't necessarily think it's because I'm like so smart or anything. It just was a bit more obvious than I guess I feel like it should have been, if that makes sense. But then that made it a bit frustrating. I figured it out and I was like, okay, I think this is what's happening here. So then it was like another 40% of the book before our characters started to, I think they're figuring it out. So that the whole time span there where I knew what was going on and they very clearly didn't was a little frustrating, because I'm like, you're this star detective. I feel as though you should have been able to figure this out. It almost made it a little bit unbelievable to me that this star detective who's so renowned for all the difficult cases that she has solved and blah, 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 that she wasn't able to figure this out quicker. I don't know. It just fell a little bit flat for me, that whole whodunit mystery part of it, which is the whole plot. There also, I mentioned themes already, like I said, colonization, slavery, freedom in general, colorism, racism, and feminism is a big one here as well. And I did feel that all of the themes were touched on appropriately, executed well. I understood the message. There was definitely a message coming across through the book, and I appreciated that, so I did enjoy that. So for good time, did I have a good time with this? I would say yes, I did. It was like a perfectly fine time, bordering on a good time. Like, it was a good enough time. I would definitely recommend picking this up if you enjoy P. Djeli Clark's writing, and I'm hoping that it was just, you know, first novel problems. It wasn't even a huge problem, but like I said, the length of it, the pacing sort of was a bit off for me personally, and I'm definitely going to continue reading his works, whether they're novellas or full-length novels, and just cross my fingers that maybe with the next novel, I won't personally have these same issues with it. So I ended up giving this one 3.25 Pushinicorns. I almost gave it a 3.5, but I just don't feel like I can confidently give it a 3.5. It was a perfectly good time on the higher end, so 3.25. And there we go. Like I said, I definitely would still recommend this if you enjoy this style of book. Just maybe go into it knowing that it is going to be a little bit more of a lighthearted, not super dark thing. If that's what you're used to, just prepare yourself for that. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to reading what he puts out next. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.